I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everything is fine anymore.
It was a Friday night when Rachel, my wife, insisted that we show up at her company's big annual networking event downtown. I went along, though reluctantly, tugging at my tie for the third time, trying to look like I actually wanted to be there. The place was extravagant, chandeliers glowing warmly overhead, smooth jazz filling the space, and the hum of wealthy professionals chatting blending into the air. Rachel looked striking in a sleek black dress, her hair styled perfectly, and for a moment I felt proud to have her by my side. But that pride quickly cracked when my eyes drifted across the room. She was leaning in close to a man I had never seen before, her hand brushing his arm in a way that twisted my stomach. Their heads nearly touched, and the intimacy in their body language was impossible to miss. A heavy wave of dread rushed over me as I realized this wasn't some casual chat. Every gesture, every giggle, every lingering touch screamed something deeper. I froze, pretending to scroll through my phone, though my insides burned. I watched her laugh at something he whispered, throwing her head back in that special laugh I had thought was ours alone. The sting cut deep, like a sharp slap to my chest. My mind spun wildly. How long had this been happening? How many times had I been left in the dark while she carried on like this? The entire room blurred, the conversations and music fading into background static as I tried to process what I was seeing. Anger, heartbreak, and disbelief collided inside me, but I didn't storm over or make a scene. No. I knew a measured response would strike harder than rage. So I stayed still, letting the reality soak in. Her hand lingered on his shoulder, her eyes warm and fixed on him as though nothing else existed. I could practically feel the unspoken inside jokes, the teasing, the secret closeness building between them. And yet I kept my silence, my face unreadable, my mind already shaping a plan. She expected me to either look away in denial or lose control in anger, but I chose neither. That night, she would see a reaction she never could have predicted, calm, deliberate, unforgettable. After minutes of whispered exchanges, I finally walked toward them, steady and composed. I tapped Rachel lightly on the shoulder. She turned, her smile faltering as soon as she saw me. I met the man's eyes directly and, in a controlled voice, said, "Rachel, can we talk?" The silence that followed was deafening. The warmth in her gaze evaporated, replaced by panic. Their faces drained, realizing instantly that their playful game had been interrupted, but not in the way they expected. My composure cut deeper than fury ever could. I led Rachel to a quieter corner. She tried laughing it off, insisting he was just a friend, but my steady eyes didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. My silence, the calm weight of my disappointment, pressed down heavier than any argument. She could feel it, the suffocating guilt, the shame reflected back at her. Every smirk, every glance she had given him, now burned in her memory under my gaze. The betrayal wasn't hidden anymore. It was exposed, undeniable. We left the party quietly, without spectacle, but the shift in her demeanor was immediate. She stayed restless, fidgeting, her eyes darting nervously at me as if waiting for an explosion that never came. I stayed composed, letting her drown in the heavy silence I created. The drive home was thick with guilt. I let her replay her own actions in her head, forcing her to confront what she had risked. My silence was the mirror reflecting her betrayal back at her. Once home, I didn't demand excuses. I calmly entered the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and began packing. She gasped, rushing to stop me, stammering through half-formed pleas, "It's not what you think, I didn't, but I simply raised my hand, signaling her to stop." No words. That silence was the verdict. The deliberate act of calmly packing hit harder than any shouting could. She understood right then, betrayal would never be tolerated. Not tonight, not ever. In the days that followed, Rachel tried relentlessly to reach me. Calls, texts, even our mutual friends chiming in on her behalf, but I didn't bend. My calm response had already done its damage. She hadn't expected me to take control this way, to step out of her grasp so decisively. That shock cut deeper than any heated argument. She began realizing it wasn't about flirting anymore, it was about respect, trust, and the boundaries she had crossed. Consequences had arrived, and she couldn't talk her way out of them. Weeks later, while I had settled temporarily into a small apartment, Rachel showed up at my door. She cried, apologized, begged, promised she would change, claimed it was all innocent, desperate for another chance. I stayed steady, listening without a flicker of emotion. Her charm, her manipulations, they fell flat. I had already chosen my dignity over her excuses. That night at the party had exposed her true self in a way no apology could erase. Looking back, the memory remains vivid. I never raised my voice. I didn't cause a scene. Yet the impact was undeniable. Rachel was left stunned, vulnerable, and full of regret. My silence, my composure, and my decision to walk away delivered a message louder than confrontation ever could. That night, I etched a statement into her memory, one she would never forget.